Hello everyone, welcome back in my channel. So today we know about a new topic of education and research. So today I am going to explain the another topic of education and research. So today topic is the hypothesis. So let's start. So today topic is hypothesis. Hypothesis. There are two words is mixing here and make the word hypothesis. Number one is hypo and another is thesis. So what is the meaning is hypo? Hypo meaning in tentative. As thesis means solution. So in this here hypothesis is tentative solution of a particular problem. Okay, so in this here the hypothesis is also classified that the is a tentative solutions. When a researcher conducted a research, that times when he go to the analysis, before his analysis about the problem and analysis about the data, that times it's called the hypothesis. And that times he makes the hypothesis, that times he also analyzes the all types of hypothesis which he has makes to before the creating the data and collection for data, and after that his hypothesis is true or not, he conclude that and next analysis and last is the result. So we know about the hypothesis types. So we know about the types of hypothesis. Types of hypothesis. Okay, so there are four types. Of hypothesis. Number one is null form hypothesis. Number two is prediction form hypothesis. Number three is declarative or declaration form hypothesis. And lastly, number four is question form hypothesis. Okay, so those are the types of the hypothesis. Now I am going to explain the every types of hypothesis separately. Okay, so number one is null hypothesis. Null form hypothesis. In this here we know the hypothesis, it is the tentative solutions about the problem on the problem. So null means no. For example, there are no difference between the boy's intelligence and girls' intelligence. Boys and girls' intelligence. So in this here null hypothesis, boys and girls, there is no. I am I am predict that there is no difference boys intelligence and girls intelligence. There are also built no. When in a research I create some hypothesis about this and I want to prove that there is no significance between the x and y, that times we use the null hypothesis. Okay, that times we use the null hypothesis. So we know about the null form. It is a no form, it is a neither form. So there is no difference between the boys intelligence and there is no difference the girls intelligence. I measure those intelligence, but at first I have create hypothesis on that topic. Next we know about the number 2 prediction. Number 2 prediction. Okay, prediction from hypothesis. In this here I am predict. I can predict if Ram went to the school, then he will be punished. So in this here prediction or predict hypothesis, if Ram went to school, then he will be punished. Okay, so in this section I make a hypothesis about Ram, that if Ram went to the schools, then he must be punished. That is another reason of his punishments. So the researcher identified the reason of the punishments, but he also predict about the problem that if Ram went to the school, then he will be punished. So this is the prediction form. Now we go for the declaration form. Number 3 is declaration form. Hypothesis. Okay, so in this here I clearly declared. I have no hesitations in mind. So the researcher clearly declared that in this form. So after the analysis the data, and then the researcher declared that there are some difference between the boys' intelligence and girls' intelligence. So in this here we notice that the researcher also declared that there are some difference between the girls' intelligence and as well as the boys' intelligence. So in this here the researcher totally declared, there is no confusions. So lastly we know about the question form. Hypothesis. So lastly we know about the question form hypothesis. When the researcher make the hypothesis, that time she creates some questions on making the hypothesis, that is called the question form hypothesis. Suppose has any difference between boys and girls intelligence. Boys and girls intelligence. There has any difference between boys and girls intelligence? That times use the question form hypothesis and must be use the question sign. Must be use the question sign. So in this here, there are four types of hypothesis. Number one is null hypothesis. Number two is prediction hypothesis. Number three is declaration hypothesis. And lastly, we know about the question form hypothesis. So today we know about this part, and I am finish this session here, and next day I will come here with a new topic. So take care. Bye.